And my apologies for any technical difficulties we may be having during this series. So in part 1 of this theory, we started to unearth a horror game hidden underneath the cute facade that is Doki Doki Literature Club. We found a letter hidden in plain sight alluding to human experiments and cults, all topics that appear in Yuri's book, The Portrait of Markov, a book that just so happens to have a mysterious QR code. As you'll know if you finish the game, the character files in the game's directory play a huge role in the plot. Monika manipulates and deletes them one by one in her quest to make you love her, and ultimately you have to delete Monika's file in order to reach the game's true ending. But there's more in these files than just character information. Each of them is a QR code left in the game to be solved by the fans. Something about this visual novel makes me go through puberty. Yuri's file was the easiest to crack. It started as a bunch of random letters and numbers, but that pile of letter vomit was actually text encoded in base 64. It's an encoding technique that converts binary data into text, specifically ASCII text, the same stuff that Bob built his army using a few years ago on YouTube. That may sound like it's really hard to decode, but all you have to do is copy it and paste it into a base 64 decoder, like this one right here. When you decrypt Yuri's file, you'll see that it's actually a QR code. It's a spooky story to be sure, but it seems to be just that, an Easter egg, a red herring. It is nothing compared to everything else hidden in these other character files. Natsuki's file came next, which, when opened in a text editor, gave the clue that this should be opened as a PNG file. Changing the extension resulted in this odd discolored image. But for anyone who's had some experience playing around with Photoshop, this color scheme may remind you of what happens when you invert the colors on a picture. It produces those signature blues and grays. So reversing that inversion, the picture suddenly starts to look like a real picture. And not just any sort of picture, a face. Rotate the image and wrap that texture around a 3D cone, then look at the cone from above, and it turns into a QR code. This woman doesn't resemble any of the other characters in the game, or anyone talked about by him. So perhaps then she's a character from the other game being developed by Team Salvato. Maybe it's Alyssa, the girl suffering the strange illness that we heard mentioned in the letter found in the last episode. Monika's character file, when converted into a PNG, turns out to be an image of a ring with a square of black and white static in the middle. But that's not just any static, it's a QR code, was what I initially thought, but nope, it's actually way more complicated than that. And huge compliments to the guys on Reddit for solving this one. It's actually a QR code. That is a lot to unpack, so let's get to it. First, it seems pretty clear that this was written by Monika, as evidenced by the QR code and "you already know my name" lines. It also seems to be written after Doki Doki's true ending, where she destroys the QR code. But now come the bizarre parts. She says that she's experienced some sort of QR code, and that this isn't her only story, supporting the idea that she's coming from somewhere else, perhaps, once again, a different QR code.